mop hit the concrete floor with a wet slap. Sergeant Riley Carter pushed it across the armory floor in slow, deliberate strokes. Back and forth. Back and forth. The smell of gun oil and cleaning solvent hung thick in the air. Rows of rifles lined the walls like silent soldiers standing at attention. M4 carbines, shotguns, and in the back corner, locked behind reinforced glass, the sniper rifles. Riley didn't look at them, not anymore. She kept her eyes down, her shoulders squared and her mouth shut. That was the deal. That was survival. "Hey, janitor girl," a voice called from the doorway. Riley didn't flinch. She'd heard worse. Corporal Derek Hayes strutted in, flanked by 2 other men from his unit. All 3 wore their uniforms like trophies. Hayes had a smile that didn't reach his eyes, the kind of smile that came right before cruelty. "Didn't know the Army hired maids now," he said, loud enough for his buddies to hear. They laughed on cue. Riley kept mopping. Hayes stepped closer. His boots squeaked on the wet floor. "What's the matter? Can't talk? Or did they take that away from you too?" She gripped the mop handle tighter. Her knuckles went white. One of the other men, Private Lowe, snickered. "I heard she used to be a sharpshooter or something." "Now look at her, mopping floors like Cinderella. Sharpshooter?" Hayes laughed. "Come on, man. Women can't shoot for real. Maybe on a good day at a carnival booth, but not in the field. Not when it counts." Riley's jaw clenched. She dipped the mop into the bucket and wrung it out. The water dripped like her patience. She probably lied on her application. Hayes continued, circling her now like a predator. "You know how it is. They push all this diversity stuff, lower the standards so girls can feel special." Lowe grinned. "Yeah, participation trophies." The third man, Sergeant Mills, said nothing. He just watched, his arms crossed, his face unreadable. Riley finally looked up. Her eyes met Hayes's. They were dark, calm, steady. He blinked first. "Something you want to say, Carter?" Hayes asked, his voice dropping lower, more dangerous. She shook her head slowly. "No, Corporal. That's what I thought." He turned to leave, then paused. "Keep the floors clean. That's about all you're good for now." The door slammed behind them. Riley stood there in the silence, alone. Surrounded by weapons she was no longer allowed to touch. She took a long breath, then another. Then she went back to mopping, but inside something burned. 3 months earlier, Riley Carter had been one of the best snipers in her battalion. Not just good, the best. She could hit a target at 1,000 yards in high wind. She could calculate bullet drop in her head faster than most men could with a rangefinder. She'd scored perfect on every qualification. She'd saved lives in 2 combat deployments. Her nickname in the unit had been Hawk because nothing escaped her sight, and then came the incident. It happened during a training exercise at Fort Bragg, a high-stakes demonstration in front of senior officers and a congressional delegation. The Army was showing off its newest equipment. Riley had been chosen to demonstrate the new XM47 sniper system. Everything was perfect. The weather, the setup, the target. She took the shot and missed, not by much, just 3 inches left. But in front of senators and generals, 3 inches might as well have been 3 miles. Whispers started immediately. She choked, couldn't handle the pressure. This is what happens when you lower standards. Riley requested a second shot, requested a review of the rifle, requested anything that might explain what went wrong. She was denied. Instead, she was reassigned, stripped of her sniper designation, placed on administrative duties pending evaluation, which was military speak for punishment. For 3 months, she'd been cleaning, mopping, filing paperwork, fetching coffee. She went from respected operator to invisible errand girl overnight. And the worst part, no one believed her when she said something had been wrong with the rifle. No one cared. No one except her. That night, Riley sat alone in her small barracks room. The walls were bare except for one photo. It showed her and her father, both in uniform, standing in front of an American flag. He'd been a Marine sniper, killed in action when she was 16. She traced her finger over his face. "I didn't choke, Dad," she whispered. "I know I didn't." Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You were right. Meet me at the range, midnight, come alone." Riley stared at the screen. It could be a prank, a setup, another humiliation, but it could also be the truth. She grabbed her jacket. The shooting range was dark and empty. The moon hung low over the flat Carolina landscape. Riley walked carefully, her breath fogging in the cold November air. A figure stepped out from the shadows. Sergeant Mills. The quiet one from earlier, the one who hadn't laughed. "You came," he said. "What's this about?" Riley asked, her guard up. Mills glanced around, then pulled something from his bag. A rifle scope. He handed it to her. "This was on the XM-47 the day you took that shot." Riley turned it over in her hands. It looked normal. Standard issue. But then she looked closer. The mounting screws. They were stripped, barely holding. The internal lens had a hairline crack. Her heart started pounding. "This scope was sabotaged," she said. Mills nodded. "I pulled it after the demonstration. I wanted to check. When I found this, I logged it, sent it up the chain, and it disappeared." The report, the scope, everything, someone buried it. Riley's blood went cold. "Who? I don't know yet. But I know why." Mills looked her in the eye. "You were set up, Carter. Someone wanted you to fail." The words hit her like a punch. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. "Because you deserve better, and because I think you're about to get your chance to prove it." "What do you mean?" Mills pulled out a folder. Inside were orders. A tactical brief. A mission outline. "There's a situation developing. Hostage rescue. High-value target. They need a sniper. A real one. Command doesn't know it yet, but Hayes is going to volunteer his team." Riley's stomach turned. "Hayes couldn't hit a barn from inside it." "I know. And people are going to die because of it." She looked down at the folder, then back at Mills. "What do you want me to do?" Mills smiled for the first time. "I want you to remind them who you really are." The next morning, Riley walked into the armory as usual, mop in hand, head down. But this time she wasn't invisible. She was watching, listening, waiting. Hayes and his crew swaggered in around noon, talking loud, full of confidence. "We got the call," Hayes said, slapping Lowe on the back. "Hostage situation. Senator's daughter. We're wheels up in 6 hours," Lowe whooped. "Finally. Some real action." Riley mopped near the weapon racks, silent as a shadow. Hayes walked past her without a glance. He went straight to the sniper rifle case. Punched in the code. Pulled out the M40. He held it like a trophy. "This baby's going to make me a hero," he said. Riley said nothing, but she saw everything. She saw the way he handled the rifle, rough, careless, no respect. She saw him skip the function check. She saw him load it into the case without zeroing the scope, and she knew. If Hayes took that shot, someone innocent was going to die. The door opened. Captain Morales walked in, clipboard in hand. "Hayes, you ready?" "Yes, ma'am." "Locked and loaded." Morales glanced at Riley, then back at Hayes. "You sure your team is up for this?" "Absolutely." Morales hesitated. "Just for a second." Then she nodded. "Good. Briefing in 1 hour." She left. Hayes grinned. Riley set down her mop, and for the first time in 3 months, she spoke up. "That rifle's not zeroed." The room went silent. Hayes turned slowly. "What did you say?" Riley stepped forward. Her voice was steady, calm, cold. "I said that rifle's not zeroed. You didn't check it. You didn't calibrate the scope. If you take that shot, you're going to miss." Hayes's face twisted. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about." Lowe laughed nervously. "She's just trying to get attention." But Riley didn't look at him. She looked straight at Hayes. "Let me check it." "No." "Let me zero it." I said no. "Then let me prove I know what I'm doing." Hayes stepped closer, his face inches from hers. "You don't do anything anymore, Carter. You mop floors. That's it. That's all you'll ever do." Riley didn't blink. "Then let me show you." "Show me what?" She walked to the rifle case, pulled out the M24, the backup sniper rifle. "Blindfold me. I'll disassemble it and reassemble it. Faster than you ever could. And then maybe you'll shut up and let someone who knows what they're doing save lives." The room went dead silent. Hayes stared at her. Then he started laughing. "You're serious. Completely. Fine." He pulled a black cloth from his pocket. "Let's see the maid play soldier." He tied it around her eyes. The world went dark. Riley smiled. "Because this?" This was her language. Riley stood in the center of the armory, blindfolded, her hands resting calmly at her sides. The room had filled up fast. Word spread like wildfire on a military base. Within minutes, a dozen soldiers had gathered. Some came to watch her fail. Others came hoping for a miracle. A few just wanted entertainment. Hayes stood with his arms crossed, that smug smile plastered across his face. Lowe and the others snickered beside him. Captain Morales had returned too. She stood near the back, silent, observing. And in the corner, barely visible, Sergeant Mills watched with quiet intensity. Riley couldn't see any of them, but she could feel the weight of their stares. The doubt, the mockery, the disbelief. She'd felt it for 3 months. Now it was time to answer. "Somebody want to hand her the rifle?" Hayes said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Or should we just call this off now and save everyone the embarrassment?" A few people chuckled. Riley held out her hands. Someone placed the M24 sniper rifle in her grip. It was heavy, solid, cold steel and polymer, about 12 pounds fully assembled. She adjusted her hold, her fingers finding familiar grooves and edges. This weapon had been her companion in combat, her tool, her lifeline, and even blindfolded, even after 3 months away, it felt like coming home. "Clock starts now," Hayes said. "Let's see what the maid can do." Riley took a breath, then her hands began to move. Her right hand went to the magazine release. One smooth press, the magazine dropped into her left palm. She set it down gently on the table beside her. No hesitation, no fumbling. Her fingers moved to the bolt handle. She lifted it, pulled it back, and ejected the invisible round from the chamber. The metallic click echoed in the silent room. Someone whispered, "She's done this before." Riley's hands didn't stop. She rotated the bolt, withdrew it completely from the receiver, and set it down with precision. Her fingers traced the edges of the rifle, reading it like braille. Next came the trigger assembly. Her thumb found the retention pin. A quarter turn, a gentle pull. The assembly came free. She placed it on the table in perfect alignment with the other parts. The room was silent. Now no laughter, no whispers, just the sound of metal on metal. Controlled, confident, flawless. Riley's breathing was steady. Her heart rate was calm. She wasn't performing. She wasn't showing off. She was simply doing what she'd done 1,000 times before. What she was born to do. She removed the stock, then the barrel, then the scope mount. Each piece came apart in her hands like a puzzle she'd memorized in her sleep. 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute. The entire M24 lay disassembled on the table in front of her. Every piece in perfect order. Every component placed exactly where it should be. Riley stood still, her hands resting at her sides again. "Done," she said quietly. Hayes's smile had vanished. "Lucky guess," he muttered. "Anyone can take something apart. Let's see you put it back together." Riley tilted her head slightly. "Start the clock," she said, and her hands moved again. Reassembly was harder. It required not just memory, but understanding, mechanics, timing, pressure points. One wrong move and the rifle wouldn't function. But Riley's hands moved like they had eyes of their own. She picked up the barrel, aligned it with the receiver, threaded it in with a twist of her wrist, locked it down. The stock came next. She positioned it, found the mounting screws by touch, and secured them. The trigger assembly slid into place with a soft click. The bolt followed. She inserted it, rotated it, tested the movement. Smooth. Perfect. Then came the scope mount, the magazine. The final pieces. Her fingers were a blur now. 60 seconds. 70. 80. She pressed the bolt forward, locked it, pulled the charging handle. The rifle gave a satisfying metallic snap. She held it up. "Clear," she said. Someone in the crowd pulled off her blindfold. The light hit her eyes. She blinked once, then looked down at the rifle in her hands. Fully assembled. Fully functional. Perfect. The room exploded. Not with applause. Not yet, but with shocked silence. The kind that comes when everything you believed gets shattered in 90 seconds. Captain Morales stepped forward. She took the rifle from Riley's hands and inspected it. Checked the bolt. The trigger. The magazine. Well, she looked up at Riley. "How long?" Morales asked. Mills glanced at his watch. "Disassembly 58 seconds. Reassembly 1 minute. 22 seconds. Morales' eyes widened just a fraction. That was faster than most armory specialists could do it with their eyes open. She handed the rifle back to Riley. "Where did you learn that?" Morales asked. Riley's voice was calm, steady. My father. He was a Marine Scout sniper. He taught me when I was 12. Said if I was going to shoot, I needed to know my weapon better than I knew myself. And do you? Riley looked her in the eye. Yes, ma'am. Morales nodded slowly. She turned to Hayes. Corporal Hayes, let Specialist Carter check your rifle. Hayes's face went red. Ma'am, with all due respect, that wasn't a request. The room went silent again. Hayes clenched his jaw. He grabbed the rifle case and slammed it onto the table. Fine. Let the maid pretend she knows what she's doing. Riley set down the M24 and opened the case. Inside was the M40. The rifle Hayes planned to take. Into the field, she lifted it out carefully. Her eyes scanned every inch. The barrel. The scope. The action. Then she stopped. Her expression darkened. This scope is mounted wrong, she said. Hayes scoffed. It's fine. No, it's not. Riley pointed to the mounting rings. These screws are cross-threaded. The scope is sitting at a cant. If you fire this at distance, you'll be off by at least 6 inches. Maybe more. That's garbage, Hayes snapped. Riley didn't argue. She simply removed the scope, checked the rings, and held up one of the screws. It was stripped. Morales took it from her hand and examined it. Her face went hard. Hayes, did you do a function check on this weapon? Yes, ma'am. Did you zero it? Hayes hesitated. I was going to do that at the range before we deployed. You were going to zero a sniper rifle an hour before a live mission? Silence. Morales looked at Riley. Can you fix it? Yes, ma'am. But I'll need replacement hardware and time on the range. You've got both. Mills, take her to the range. Get this rifle mission ready. Yes, ma'am. Morales turned to Hayes. You're grounded until further notice. Ma'am, that's my mission. Not anymore. Hayes looked like he'd been slapped. His face went from red to white. He opened his mouth to argue, then thought better of it. He shot Riley a look of pure hatred. Then he stormed out. The crowd began to disperse. Whispers followed. Did you see that? She just destroyed him. Maybe she really is that good. Riley stood there holding the rifle, her heart pounding. She'd proven herself. But she knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. 2 hours later, Riley stood on the shooting range. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The air was cool and still. Perfect conditions. Mills stood beside her, holding a spotting scope. Riley had the M40 on a bench rest in front of her. She'd replaced the damaged screws, remounted the scope, and calibrated it by hand. Now came the real test. Targets at 800 yards, Mills said. Wind is 2 miles per hour left to right. Temperature's dropping. You've got 3 shots to zero it. Riley loaded a round into the chamber. She settled into position behind the rifle. Her breathing slowed. Her heartbeat steadied. She looked through the scope. The target came into focus. A small black circle on a white background, barely visible in the fading light. She adjusted for windage, for elevation, for temperature. Then she let out half a breath and squeezed the trigger. The rifle barked. The recoil pushed into her shoulder like an old friend, and she kept her eye on the scope. 800 yards downrange. The target fluttered. Hit, Mills said, his voice calm. Center mass. Half an inch high. Riley made a tiny adjustment to the scope. She loaded another round. Breathed. Fired. Hit. Dead center. She loaded the third round. This time, she didn't adjust anything, she just trusted herself. The rifle fired. The bullet flew. And 800 yards away, the target's center exploded. Perfect, Mills said quietly. Riley sat back. She looked at the rifle in her hands. It was ready. The question was she? That night, Riley was summoned to Captain Morales' office. She knocked twice. Enter. Riley stepped inside. The office was small, neat, organized. Morales sat behind her desk, a file open in front of her. Sit, Morales said. Riley sat. Morales studied her for a long moment. I read your file, Carter. 2 deployments, 15 confirmed kills. Expert marksman. Recommended for commendation twice. She paused. And then 1 bad shot in front of Congress and you're mopping floors. Riley said nothing. I also read Sergeant Mills' report. The one that got buried. Riley's heart skipped. He found evidence that your rifle was tampered with during that demonstration. Someone sabotaged you. Yes, ma'am. Do you know who? No, ma'am. Morales closed the file. I'm reopening the investigation. But that takes time. Right now I have a bigger problem. She slid a photo across the desk. It showed a young woman, early 20s. Blonde hair, scared eyes, Senator Dawson's daughter, kidnapped 4 days ago by a domestic extremist group. They're holding her in a compound 200 miles from here, isolated, heavily armed. Riley's stomach tightened. We have one shot at getting her out alive. Long-range overwatch. Neutralize the sentries, create an opening for the rescue team. Morales looked Riley dead in the eye. I need a sniper I can trust. Hayes, isn't it? Mills says you are. Riley's pulse quickened. I'm ready, ma'am. This isn't a demonstration, Carter. This is real. Lives are on the line. If you miss, I won't. The certainty in Riley's voice filled the room. Morales studied her, then she nodded. You're on the team. Briefing's at 0600. Wheels up at 0800. Riley stood. Saluted. Thank you, ma'am. As she turned to leave, Morales spoke again. Carter. Yes, ma'am. Show them who you really are. Riley allowed herself the smallest smile. I intend to. The briefing room was packed. 20 soldiers sat in rows of metal chairs, their faces lit by the glow of the projection screen. Maps, satellite images, tactical overlays. The target compound was a sprawling property in the mountains of western North Carolina. 3 buildings, high fences, armed guards, and somewhere inside Senator Dawson's daughter was running out of time. Riley sat in the back row, silent and focused. At the front of the room stood Major Garrett, a veteran officer with gray at his temples and scars on his hands. He commanded respect without saying a word. Listen up, Garrett began, his voice cutting through the quiet. This is a hostage rescue operation. Time-sensitive, high risk. The target is Emily Dawson, age 23, abducted by a group calling themselves the Free Republic Militia. He clicked to the next slide. A man's face appeared, lean, hard eyes. Tattoos on his neck. This is Jacob Keller, former Army, dishonorable discharge. Now he's playing revolutionary in the woods with about 15 other armed extremists. He's smart, paranoid, and he's made it clear that if we come in loud, Emily dies. The room tensed. Garrett clicked again. An aerial view of the compound appeared. We go in at dawn. 2 teams. Alpha team breaches the main building where we believe Emily is being held. Bravo team provides perimeter security. But none of that happens unless we can take out the sentries first. He looked directly at Riley. That's where our sniper comes in. Every head in the room turned. Riley felt the weight of their stares. Some were curious. Some were doubtful. And some, like Corporal Hayes sitting 3 rows ahead, were openly hostile. He'd been reassigned to Bravo team, demoted from lead to support. And everyone knew why. Garrett continued. Specialist Carter will be positioned on the ridgeline 800 yards northwest of the compound. She'll have eyes on the entire perimeter. 2 sentries. Both armed. Both dangerous. She takes them down simultaneously with the breach. No room for error, Mills. Sitting beside Riley, leaned over and whispered, no pressure. Riley didn't smile. She was already running the calculations in her head. Distance, wind, elevation, timing, 2 targets. 1 shot each. She'd done harder, but never with this much at stake. Garrett wrapped up the briefing. We roll out at 0800. Get your gear, check your weapons, and get your heads right. This is going to be tight. The room emptied quickly. Riley stood, slinging her rifle case over her shoulder. Hayes blocked her path. You shouldn't be here, he said, his voice low and venomous. Riley met his eyes. Captain Morales disagrees. You got lucky with a party trick. That doesn't make you a sniper. And missing your 0 doesn't make you one either. His jaw clenched. For a second she thought he might take a swing. But Mills stepped between them. Walk away, Hayes. Hayes glared at both of them. Then he shoved past and stormed out. Mills exhaled. He's going to be a problem. Riley nodded. I know. Watch your back out there. I will. But as she walked toward the armory to prep her gear, a cold feeling settled in her gut. Hayes wasn't just angry, he was dangerous. The convoy left Fort Bragg at dawn. 4 armored vehicles rolled through the North Carolina backroads, moving fast and silent. The mountains rose around them, dense with pine and shadow. Riley sat in the back of the lead vehicle, her rifle across her lap. Across from her sat Mills and 2 other soldiers from Alpha Team. Nobody spoke much. This close to mission time, words didn't matter, only focus did. Riley closed her eyes and ran through the shot sequence one more. Time, breathe, acquire, adjust, fire. Breathe, acquire, adjust, fire. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. Sniper's greatest weapon isn't the rifle, Riley. It's patience. It's calm. It's the ability to wait for the perfect moment and then take it without hesitation. She opened her eyes. The perfect moment was coming. She just had to be ready. They reached the staging. Area 2 hours later was a clearing half a mile from the target compound, hidden by trees and terrain. The teams disembarked and began final checks. Riley moved to the back of the vehicle and opened her rifle case. The M40 lay inside, pristine and deadly. She assembled it with the same calm precision she'd shown in the armory. Scope, barrel, stock, bolt, every piece locked into place. Mills appeared. Beside her with a range card and a tablet. Latest intel, he said. 2 sentries confirmed. 1 on the north tower.
1 patrolling the east fence line.
Winds picking up, gusting to 5 miles per hour. Temperatures 42 degrees. Riley nodded, absorbing the information. Distance to the north tower, 790 yards. East fence, 820. She pulled out her notebook and started calculating. Windage. Bullet drop. Air density. Mills watched her work. You good? He asked quietly. Riley didn't look up. I will be. 30 minutes later, Riley was in position. She lay prone on the ridgeline, her rifle resting on a bipod, her body concealed beneath a camouflage tarp. The compound spread out below her like a model. 3 buildings, chain-link fence, guard towers on 2 corners, and there, just visible through her scope, the north tower sentry. He was young, maybe 25, wearing body armor and carrying an AR-15. He paced slowly, scanning the tree line. Riley's crosshairs followed him. Steady. Calm. She shifted slightly and found the second target, the east fence patrol. Older. Heavier. He moved in a predictable pattern. 12 steps north. Turn. 12 steps south. Turn. Riley timed him, 30 seconds per cycle. She keyed her radio. Overwatch in position. I have eyes on both targets. Major Garrett's voice crackled back. Copy, Overwatch. Alpha Team is 2 minutes from breach point. Stand by. Riley slowed her breathing. 2 minutes. She checked the wind again. It had shifted slightly. She adjusted her scope a quarter turn. Then she waited. The world narrowed. There was no cold. No sound, no fear, just the rifle, the target, and the shot. Overwatch, this is Alpha. We are in position. Awaiting your signal. Riley's finger rested lightly on the trigger. She watched the north tower sentry stop. Light a cigarette. Turn his back. Perfect. She swung to the east fence patrol. He was midway through his turn, exposed, unaware. Riley inhaled slowly. Overwatch.
You are green.
Take the shot. She exhaled halfway. The crosshair settled. On the east fence sentry's chest, she squeezed. The rifle kicked. The suppressor muffled the sound to a low thump 820 yards away. The sentry dropped. Riley didn't watch him fall. She was already swinging back to the north tower. The second sentry had heard something. He turned, confused, reaching for his radio. Riley's crosshairs found his center mass. She fired. He crumpled. Both targets down, Riley reported, her voice flat and professional. Copy. Alpha is moving. Through her scope, Riley watched the rescue team surge forward. They moved like shadows, fast and coordinated. Breaching charges blew the door. Flashbangs lit up the interior. 30 seconds later, a voice crackled over the radio. Package secure. We have Emily Dawson. She's alive. Relief flooded through Riley's chest, but she didn't move. Her job wasn't done until everyone was out. She kept her eye on the scope, scanning for threats, and that's when she saw him. Jacob Keller. He emerged from the back of the main building, dragging another hostage. A woman, bound and terrified. Riley's blood went cold. Alpha, be advised. Second hostage. Keller has her at the rear exit. Copy, we're Gunfire erupted. Keller opened fire on the Alpha team, using the woman as a shield. Riley's heart pounded. She shifted her aim, but Keller was moving. Erratic, panicked, and the hostage was directly in her line of fire. Overwatch, do you have a shot? Riley's breathing quickened. Keller ducked behind a vehicle. The hostage stumbled. He yanked her back up. The angle was impossible. Negative. No clean shot. Alpha is pinned. We need that shot, Overwatch. Riley's mind raced. Wait. Patience. Her father's voice again. The perfect moment will come. Trust yourself. Keller moved again, dragging the woman toward a truck. Riley tracked him. And then it happened. He shoved the hostage into the truck bed. For 1 second, maybe 2, he was exposed. Riley didn't think. She fired. The bullet traveled 837 yards in less than a second. It hit Keller in the upper chest. He went down hard. Target down. Hostage is clear. Alpha team swarmed the truck, pulled the woman free, both packages secure. We're coming home, Riley. Let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. She lowered her rifle. It was over. The convoy rolled back into Fort Bragg just before sunset. Soldiers spilled out of the vehicles, exhausted but victorious. Emily Dawson and the second hostage were rushed to medical. The teams dispersed for debriefing. Riley climbed out of the truck, her rifle slung over her shoulder. She felt numb, drained. But underneath it all, something else. Vindication. Captain Morales approached, her expression unreadable. 2 shots, 2 kills, 1 impossible save. She paused. Outstanding work, Specialist. Thank you, ma'am. Morales lowered her voice. I spoke with Major Garrett. He's recommending you for commendation, and I'm reinstating your sniper designation effective immediately. Riley's throat tightened. Ma'am, you earned it, Carter. Today and every day before they tried to take it from you. Morales walked away. Riley stood there, the weight of the moment sinking in. She'd done it. She'd proven herself. But then she saw Hayes. He was standing near the armory, watching her. His face was twisted with rage, and in that moment Riley realized something. This wasn't over. Not yet. The base was quiet that night. Most of the unit had gone to the mess hall to celebrate. Emily Dawson was safe. The mission was a success. Bottles were being opened. Stories were being told, but Riley didn't join them. She sat alone in the armory, cleaning her rifle. The smell of gun oil filled her nose. The rhythmic motion of the cleaning rod was soothing. Familiar, she needed the silence, needed time to process everything. 3 months ago, she'd been at the top. Then one failed shot had destroyed her career, her reputation, her identity. Today, she'd taken 2 of the most important shots of her life, and she hadn't missed. The door opened behind her. She didn't turn. Around? Congratulations, it was Mills. He walked over and sat on the bench across from her. You did good out there, Carter. Real good. Thanks. He watched her work for a moment. You know they're going to do a full investigation now, right? Into what happened at that demonstration. Morales is pushing hard. She wants answers. Riley nodded slowly. Good. Whoever sabotaged you is going to be found. She looked up at him. You think it was Hayes? Mills hesitated. I don't know. Maybe he had motive. He's been gunning for a sniper slot for 2 years. You were in his way, but he's not smart enough to cover his tracks this well. Whoever did this knew how to bury evidence, how to manipulate the chain of command. Mills leaned forward. I think it goes higher than Hayes. A chill ran down Riley's spine. How high? Before Mills could answer, the door burst open. Captain Morales strode in, her face like stone. Carter, Mills. With me. Now. They followed her to her office. She shut the door and locked it. Then she turned to face them. We have a problem. She opened her laptop and turned it around. On the screen was a video file, timestamped 3 months ago. The day of the demonstration, Morales hit play. The footage showed the armory. Early morning. Empty. Then a figure entered. Riley's breath caught. It wasn't Hayes. It was Master Sergeant Gordon, the senior non-commissioned officer in charge of the entire armory. A man with 20 years of service. Decorated, respected, trusted. On the video, Gordon walked directly to the XM-47 Riley was supposed to use that day. He opened the case, removed the scope. And with calm, deliberate movements, he loosened the mounting screws. Sabotage, pure and simple. Riley felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. "Why?" she whispered. Morales paused the video. "That's what I intend to find out. Gordon's being picked up by CID as we speak, but I wanted you to see this first." Mills stared at the screen, his jaw tight. He destroyed her career. "For what?" Morales' eyes were hard. "Money. We found deposits in his account. $20,000. Paid 2 days after the demonstration. Paid by who?" Riley asked. "We're still tracing it, but whoever it was, they wanted you gone." The room fell silent. Riley's hands trembled. Not with fear, with rage. She'd spent 3 months being humiliated, mocked, broken down, all because someone paid Gordon to make her fail. "I want to talk to him," Riley said quietly. "Absolutely not," Morales replied. "This is a criminal investigation now. CID handles it. Captain, please." "Oh, Carter, I understand. But you need to let this go through proper channels." Riley clenched her fists. Mills put a hand on her shoulder. "She's right. Let the system work," Riley wanted to argue. Wanted to scream, but she nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Morales studied her carefully. "Go get some rest." "That's an order." Riley left the office, her mind spinning. But she had no intention of resting, not until she knew the whole truth. 2 hours later, Riley stood outside the military police detention building. She wasn't supposed to be there, but she needed answers. She flashed her ID to the guard at the desk. "I'm here to see Master Sergeant Gordon." The guard frowned. "He's not cleared for visitors. I'm part of the investigation. Captain Morales sent me." It was a lie, but her voice was steady, confident. The guard hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. He led her down a hallway and unlocked a door. Gordon sat inside, still in uniform, his hands cuffed in front of him. When he saw Riley, his face went pale. The guard stepped outside. The door closed. Riley and Gordon were alone. She sat down across from him. "Why?" she asked simply. Gordon looked away. "I don't know what you're talking about. We have you on video. Tampering with my rifle. You destroyed my career. I want to know why." He said nothing. Riley leaned forward. $20,000. That's what they paid you. Who was it? Gordon's jaw tightened. "You don't understand," he said finally. "You were never supposed to be there in the first place." Riley's eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" "That demonstration was supposed to showcase the next generation of military technology. It was a big deal. Senators, generals, defense contractors. Billions of dollars on the line. So they didn't want some girl making it look easy." The words hit Riley like a slap. "They? Who's they?" Gordon finally looked at her. "The people who decide who gets promoted, who gets contracts, who gets glory." He shook his head. "You were too good, Carter. You made the old guard nervous. They needed you to fail." Riley's blood boiled. "So you sabotaged me, ruined my life. For money, for survival," Gordon snapped. "You think I had a choice? They told me if I didn't do it, they'd find someone who would. And I'd be the one reassigned, dishonored, forgotten. You could have said no. Easy for you to say. You're young. You've got time to rebuild. I've got 2 years until retirement. I've got a family. A mortgage?" Riley stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "So you threw me under the bus to save yourself?" Gordon looked down. "I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix this." She turned to leave. "Carter." She stopped. "For what it's worth," Gordon said quietly. "You're the best sniper I've ever seen. Man or woman. That's why they were afraid of you." Riley didn't respond. She walked out. The next morning, Riley was summoned to Major Garrett's office. When she arrived, she found Captain Morales and 2 officers from the Criminal Investigation Division waiting. "Sit," Garrett said. Riley sat. One of the CID officers spoke. "Specialist Carter, we understand you visited Master Sergeant Gordon last night without authorization." Riley's stomach dropped. "Yes, sir. That was a violation of protocol." "I know, sir." Garrett leaned forward. "What did he tell you?" Riley recounted the conversation. Everything Gordon had said. When she finished, the room was silent. The CID officer made notes. "We'll follow up on his claims. If there's a larger conspiracy, we'll find it." Morales spoke next. "Carter, you're officially cleared. Your sniper designation is reinstated. Your record is being amended, and you're being considered for a commendation for yesterday's mission. Riley nodded. Thank you, ma'am. But, Garrett added, you need to stay out of the investigation from here on out. Let CID do their job. Understood? Yes, sir. Garrett dismissed her. As Riley walked out, Morales caught up with her in the hallway. You did the right thing, she said. Coming forward, fighting back, a lot of people would have just given up. Riley looked at her. I couldn't, my father didn't raise a quitter. Morales smiled. He'd be proud of you. Riley's throat tightened. I hope so. 3 weeks later, the investigation concluded. Master. Sergeant Gordon was court-martialed and sentenced to 5 years in military prison. 2 defense contractors were indicted for bribery and conspiracy, and a senior Army procurement officer was forced to resign. The story made national news headlines, called it a scandal, a betrayal, a conspiracy against women in combat roles. But for Riley, it was simpler than that. It was justice. She stood in front of the base headquarters, reading the official statement posted on the bulletin board. Specialist Riley Carter's sniper designation has been fully reinstated. She is commended for exceptional performance under fire and is recommended for the Army Commendation Medal. She read it twice. Then she walked away. 6 months later, Riley stood on a different range. This one was at Fort Benning, Georgia. The Army Sniper School. She'd been selected as an instructor. A dozen students stood before her. Young soldiers, eager, nervous. Some were men. 2 were women. Riley looked at them and saw herself. Listen up, she said, her voice firm and clear. Being a sniper isn't about strength. It's not about size. It's about discipline, focus, and the willingness to take the shot when everyone else doubts you can. The students nodded. One of the women raised her hand. Specialist Carter, is it true you were reassigned to janitorial duty? Riley paused. Then she nodded. Yes, I mopped floors for 3 months. How did you come back from that? Riley looked her in the eye. I never stopped being who I was. They took my title, my position, my reputation. But they couldn't take my skill, and they couldn't take my resolve. She picked up a rifle. You're going to face doubt, from others, from yourself. You're going to be tested, mocked, underestimated. She held the rifle out. But if you know who you are, if you trust your training, and if you refuse to quit, you will prove them wrong. Every single time. The student stood straighter. Riley smiled. Now, let's get to work. That evening, Riley sat alone on the range as the sun set. She held her father's photo in her hands. I did it, Dad, she whispered. I proved them wrong. A voice spoke behind her. You did more than that. She turned. It was Mills. He'd been promoted to sergeant first, class and reassigned to Benning as well. He sat beside her. You changed the conversation, Carter. Women all over the Army are talking about you. You're a symbol now. Riley shook her head. I'm just a soldier. You're more than that. You're proof. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Mills stood. By the way, someone wanted me to give you this. He handed her an envelope. Riley opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. Dear Specialist Carter, my name is Emily Dawson. You saved my life. I know you were just doing your job, but I want you to know that your courage gave me courage. I've decided to enlist. And one day, I hope to be half the soldier you are. Thank you for not missing. With gratitude, Emily Riley's eyes filled with tears. She folded the letter carefully and put it in her pocket. Mills smiled. Not bad for a girl who used to mop floors. Riley laughed. For the first time in months, it felt genuine. Not bad at all. Epilogue: The armory was empty when Riley walked in. It had been a year since the incident, a year since the demonstration, since the sabotage, since the fall and the rise. She ran her hand along the rifle racks. This place had been her prison. Now it felt like home again. She picked up a mop leaning against the wall, smiled and set it back down. She didn't need it anymore, because Riley Carter wasn't the girl who mopped floors. She was the woman who took the shot and she never missed.